Rejection hurts deeply, especially if it comes from family or those that are in authority over us. Yet the scripture reminds me that rejection doesn't stop my destiny. What struck me most about the story of David and Goliath is Goliath was never David's responsibility. David wasn't a soldier. He wasn't enlisted in Saul's army. He wasn't the king. He wasn't even sent to fight. His father simply said, "Take these sandwiches to your brothers." He was there minding his own business in the bush with the goats. "Take these sandwiches to your brothers." David was basically an Uber delivery for food, not military assignment. When David arrived, he found Goliath mocking the armies of the living God. For 40 days, the giant had been shouting threats every morning, every evening. Saul and his army had apparently turned intimidation into their daily schedules. The responsibility to deal with Goliath belonged to the king, not to David. However, Saul was the CEO. If the CEO leaves the office every time there is a crisis, something is seriously wrong. Yet David stepped into the battle that someone else should have fought. It wasn't David's responsibility. What makes the story even more remarkable is that the people that should have been fighting were the very same people who were discouraging the person willing to stand up. His brothers basically said, "Who asked you to come? Go back home. Go back to the gods." Saul the king says, "You're too young." Talking about rejection when it comes from people around you and people of authority. Goliath looked at David and laughed. "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" David, he had no sign of a soldier in him. Poor David. He came to deliver lunch and somehow ended up in a performance review from his brothers, from the king, from Goliath. Career assessment from the king. Roasting from a giant, all before lunchtime. David faced rejection from his family, doubt from the king, and mockery from his enemy. Yet he refused all of that. He refused to let their opinions silence the conviction of God. David didn't fight Goliath because it was his assignment. It wasn't. He fought because he honored God. Honoring God mattered more to David. All right? While everyone else had learned to live with the giant, David wondered why everyone was acting as though the giant was in charge. Have you ever seen a situation where everyone is okay with what is wrong? Sometimes you find yourself solving problems that exist only because people responsible are too afraid to deal with them. Living in a generation where we are fighting demons that our fathers should have fought, but they decided to fold their arms. Children, the generations are suffering from cases that our own parents should have dealt with. And God calls you to stand in the gap. Then the very same people who are supposed to have fought the demons will start discouraging you. The greatest obstacles are often not from the giants in front of us, but the voices around us that keep us telling us that we are not enough. Like David, we must learn to listen to God's voice above every other voice. You need to learn to silence every voice of Jezebel around you. Never let rejection convince you that you are disqualified. Yes, you might not look like a soldier, but in the eyes of God, you are a whole army. God often chooses the overlooked. He often qualifies the unqualified, the underestimated, even those that our families can reject. The irony is David left home carrying bread, sandwiches for his brothers, but he returned carrying the giant's head. That's what God can do with anybody. Talking to one other follower of mine, she was saying, I'm a single parent, I'm a single mom, but I'm overlooked in the family. I said, you are a giant in God's eyes. Don't let any voice around you tell you otherwise. You are a whole army of God. I am Amazing Grace.